Special report deals with solar energy.
In Las Cruces, New Mexico, this building bills itself as the first in the nation completely heated and cooled by solar power. It's the new office building of the state's Department of Agriculture, and it has 330 solar collectors installed on its roof. Water passing through them, being fired to 200 degrees by the heat of the sun. This is one example, not just what people are talking about, but what they are doing with solar energy. Another, Rex, Georgia. Photovoltaic solar panels powering a railroad crossing signal. Cape Cod, a solar-powered golf cart. In the Custer National Forest of Montana, solar panels on the roof power the pumps for the world's first solar-powered outhouse. People in solar research are excited today. The breakthrough, where solar power will be not just a gimmick, but a major contributor to America's energy needs, seems near. And this may be where the breakthrough will happen. Bridgeport, Texas, population 4,500, buys its electricity from Texas Power and Light. But that company's been raising its rates so often, so high. In 3 years, up 100%.
They just kept a passing on the rates and just kept a passing them on, and we thought very much that we were the people that had enough, you know what I mean? They're about all they could stand and at one time, you know what I mean?
Last November, the company asked Bridgeport for another rate increase.
Somebody got to be first, if there's such a thing as being first, in saying no.
At Bridgeport City Hall, the city council met. They moved the secretary's desks aside and used this as council chambers. And as they met that night, they decided they were not going to grant the power company its requested increase. The power company said, if you don't, we'll give you 3 years' notice and we'll cut you off. The council said, okay, we'll think of something. Well, in the next few months, they looked at those transformers, and they looked at that sun, and they thought of something. Decided that Bridgeport, Texas would be the first city in the United States, in the world, to be powered by a solar energy power plant.
We certainly don't have the technology in Bridgeport, but we've got the desire, the interest, and the dedication to do this.
City Manager Brown went out and sold the idea to his people to go it alone, go solar. Companies involved in solar research and eager to have a proving ground are coming to Bridgeport with ideas. They propose a 6-megawatt solar energy plant, say the technology is almost ready. The federal government is helping, will probably give money. A private foundation has offered $2.5 million matching fund. It looks as though by 1978 it could happen.
We're totally confident we are going to have a solar generating system in Bridgeport.
Checks for $5, $10, $50 come into the city manager's office from all over.
We've had a tremendous amount of letters of support telling us to hang in there, stay with them, win your fight. Solar energy can be, and let's develop it. Let's put it to work. Instead of just lighting up our day, let's also light up our house, run our air conditioners, provide lights to learn by.
And it's going to start in Bridgeport, Texas.
We hope so.
It's coming, you know what I mean, and we're going to have to look forward to it, you know what I mean.
That's right. Solar City.
The breakthrough in solar energy will come somewhere soon. They hope it'll be here. Jack Perkins, NBC News, Bridgeport, Texas.
That's it for this evening. Good night for NBC News.
run 200 or 300 miles or however far you have to run and turn around and go home. So, Mr. Speaker, I very much approve of it, as I say, of the spirit.
Mr. Speaker, Ms. Claus, gentlemen of the House, this resolution is, we spent quite some time on it to try to work out something that we thought would express the opinion and the feeling of the majority of members of this House. And that is that we come down here and take first things first, go ahead and get our business done, and we'll have plenty of time to take up non-controversial, controversial, or otherwise.
Taking care of the house cleaning duties that we're called down here to take care of. The only thing that this will build is a special order calendar, because when we do get the budget out of the way, then we're going to find ourselves going to the Rules Committee.
The committee's function and take under consideration other bills.
Yes, this has nothing to do with the function of the committees at all. The committees can go ahead and take the bills that they introduced and take care of working.
Last year, for the first time, we included revenue sharing money.
Things that are coming up that will need an appropriation. And if we don't get a budget behind us, we have...
Should we not include in this after what I'm suggesting is that we should strike the word.
We're familiar with, be no way to get that.
We don't have a legislation for friends of Senator Gifford.
Mr. Speaker, I move suspension.
Come back when the bill is actually on the floor of the House. Now, I don't believe it's a member of this House that wouldn't be willing to suspend the rules.
Mr. Speaker, this is a good resolution, and if anyone has any fears about helps you,
I will.
not quite. Does your resolution, will it let the rest of the committee's function and take under consideration other bills?
Yes, this has nothing to do with the function of the committees at all. The committees can go ahead and take the bills that they introduce and take care of working.
And we could
The situation here at Cleveland Avenue has been typical of many Montgomery voting stations today during the hour before the polls close. Those who didn't get a chance to make their choices during regular working hours are doing so right now. Things are a bit cramped at the moment, and officials say it's been like this all day long.
It's been about like this all day. It's been steady, fairly constant all day long.
Did you have some people here this morning when the polls opened?
We did. There were 20, 25 waiting for us when I got here this morning.
How does this compare with elections in the past?
I'm well pleased. I set a goal this morning for 1,500, and we're going to surpass that. So I'm well pleased, really.
Have you noted any confusion today?
Very little. I had thought we'd have considerably more than we have, but people have taken to the two ballots very well, I think.
Whether it was the novelty of Alabama's first presidential primary or just a larger than usual concern over local candidates and issues, it's been a good election day in the capital city. From the Cleveland Avenue Fire Station, Bill Weaver, WSFA TV News, reporting. The polls closed at 6 on the dot this evening here at Cloverdale. After that began the slow process of vote counting. Accuracy comes first in a situation like this, which is one reason why you don't hear election results sooner. We talked with one voting official about vote counting. Mr. Pepperman, there's a lot of important information on this table. Of course, that's the vote count for the Cloverdale precinct. What kind of procedure do you go through after the polls close?
As the polls close, we first unlock the machine, which on these chute machines means that when we unlock it at the back, it simply shows the vote that each amendment received, that each candidate received for whatever office, both Republican and Democrat. And then it's simply, as you all saw, counted out before people in public, placed into various envelopes such as this, together with the key to the machine, which are locked and sealed and delivered down to the probate office.
Officials say that because of the double primary nature of this election, things took a little bit longer, but they still went smoothly. More than just election officials make note of the vote count at places like this. WSFA and other media are on hand so that results can be known this evening. The official tally sheet's headed for the courthouse, where the official count will be made at a later date. From the Cloverdale Community Center, Bill Weaver, WSFA TV News.
I might also let you know that in 1972, I did not win all the delegates in Alabama. So when you in the news media say Wallace has lost delegates in Alabama, well, I lost them in 1972, so that would be nothing significant. I do think it's going to be significant that we're going to add a number of delegates to our total at the present time, which is around 110.
Governor, what will Governor Carter have to promise you before you'll release your delegates to him?
I didn't,
What will Governor Carter have to promise you for you to release your delegates to him?
well, Governor Carter, no one else has any lock on getting any release of my delegates to them. The primaries are not over. But I look forward to supporting the Democratic Party because I believe the more delegates that I accumulate, we accumulate, the better platform we're going to have. And it's going to take into consideration the matter of national defense, the matter of bureaucracy, the matter of crime, and all of those matters that the average citizen of our country wants to hear more about in the days to come in the campaigns.
But Governor Wallace, you at one time and on several occasions referred to Jimmy Carter as a warmed-over McGovern. Are you now prepared to accept him as the party's nominee?
I'm prepared to accept anyone as a party nominee in the sense that I know those who are going to have the possibility of being nominated are those kind of individuals that can themselves endorse the proper platform. And therefore, I'm sure that the delegates that I have and others also have are going to insist that the Democratic Party speak out on matters that the average citizen left them about in 1972. Maybe when we make statements sometimes in the heat of a campaign, like Mr. Carter said he'd never been for me and never expected to be, maybe he was making that in the heat of a campaign when he knows that he recommended me for the vice presidency in 1972. So maybe we sometimes say things in the heat of a campaign, but I do see the Democratic Party coming back to being the party of the average citizen of our country. I believe that the Democratic nominee, I'm not going to say George Wallace, Jimmy Carter, Jerry Brown, but I believe the Democratic nominee running on the type of platform that I believe they're going to have will defeat the Republican Party in November.
Governor, do I ask one final question? From what we've been hearing so far, it sounds more as if you're gearing up towards being a type of power broker at the convention rather than
No, ma'am. I don't want to be a power broker and will not be a power broker at the convention. I just want to see the proper platform. I want to see the Democratic Party get back where it ought to be, and I've been involved a pretty good while, and I've gone through quite a bit in that process, and I'm still involved in it, and I'm going to go through all the way. But I want to see the Democratic Party again become the party of the average citizen.
And you would be just as happy then, even if you were not the candidate, so long as the platform was to your liking?
Well, I would rather be the nominee, but I recognize the obstacles in my path in that regard.
107 heavy, clear to land, 32 up.
Air traffic controllers at O'Hare are responsible for 135 planes that land and take off on 7 runways each hour. It's a demanding job. Until now, controllers use live flights to learn their trade. Not the best way to learn, since their mistakes could be fatal. So a supervisor would have to step in and shove the trainee aside to prevent fatal mistakes. But now student controllers can learn from their mistakes in the dynamic simulation laboratory.
Chicago approach is Ozark 790 with you, level at 7, got Alpha, we're coming down.
Technicians on one end of the laboratory play the role of pilots in planes approaching O'Hare. A computer simulates all the flights, their ground speed and altitude, as well as weather conditions, wind speed, and visibility.
Eastern 811, turn left heading 160, 6 miles from Lehman, cleared for ILS runway 14 left approach, maintain 2,400.
Student controllers at the other end of the lab pick up aircraft on their radar once the planes pass through a 35-mile perimeter of the airport. It's almost a carbon copy of real-life air traffic controlling, except when a controller makes a mistake in this radar room, he can stop all flights in midair to correct it.
In this situation, we can let the controller go as far as we want and nobody gets hurt. In other words, he can let a situation where we'd have less than standard separation, we could let him go ahead and do it because we're not working with real aircraft.
Student controllers from all over the country can take this 12-week training course at O'Hare because maps of other major airports can be laid over the radar scopes. And there is one other visible difference between life in this laboratory and life in the control tower. Up here, they keep a jar of antacid tablets nearby to ease the upset stomachs caused by this high-pressure work. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Chicago. The Reverend Sun Myung Moon is a Korean evangelist and businessman. Some of his followers are convinced he is the Messiah. A lot of people think he is something else, including Congressman Donald Fraser, who's been looking into Moon's activities. Fraser says he has information that people close to Moon have ties to the South Korean government and to the South Korean intelligence agency. South Korean officials deny any connection between Moon and their government. Whatever the case, he's a rich man with a devoted following, and Edwin Newman tells us what Moon is up to these days.
Moon's message, at least publicly, is unvaried. It's God bless America. His followers sing that out. If there's an obligato, it's one world under God. Moon's God. His followers think that maybe Moon himself. The focal point this year for that one world is Yankee Stadium on June 1st. In some cases, Moon's hope competes with other messages.
Morning, how are you?
The invitations to Yankee Stadium are out. One Moon follower says 600,000 free tickets have been picked up, many times the number Yankee Stadium can hold.
We really want you to come, please. I really don't want.
Many people pass the opportunity by, however. And some ask about reports that Moon manufactures rifles for the South Korean Army.
No, not a weapons factory, no.
He owns a gun factory, though.
It's an air rifle factory.
An air rifle.
Yeah.
We all want the best for America.
Television commercials make their pitch also.
On Tuesday, June 1st, Reverend Sun Myung Moon.
Moon's hopes do not end with the Yankee Stadium Festival. He continues to buy property. He spent $5 million recently for the New Yorker Hotel here. Moon says that Americans may finally take him seriously if he ever owns this piece of property, the Empire State Building. It's no longer the tallest building in the world, but it's still aiming high. Edwin Newman, NBC News, New York.
Further downtown on Wall Street, on the
The sky opened up shortly before the gates of Yankee Stadium opened up. But soon the rain stopped and 40,000 persons came to hear Moon, most of them in bright spirits. In the crowd, there were followers of Moon, other persons who were merely curious, and some who were hostile and would later set off firecrackers and throw rocks. And there were parents. Their presence was supposed to show that Moon doesn't really drive his followers and their parents apart, even though he teaches that he is the only true parent. Most of the evening was music, but there was a message. Through an interpreter, Moon said that America was created by God, but is now being overrun by Satan. America is sick, he said, and God has sent him here to be the doctor. To reject me, said Moon, could result in the rejection of God. Several thousand persons had left Yankee Stadium before Moon finished talking. The evening ended with what has become Moon's theme song, God Bless America. Eric Burns, NBC News, Yankee Stadium.
The new house on the block at NASA's Langley Research Center is being described by officials here as the house of the future, although it was built with conventional materials. But by using space-age advances like solar panels, heat pumps, plastic foam insulation, computer controls for heating and cooling, solid-state appliances, and water reclamation systems, the average family can reduce its fuel consumption by 2/3 and its water consumption by half.
Actually, the systems themselves, based on a 10% escalation in fuel costs over the next 20 years, should pay for themselves in about 7 years. And from 7 years on out to, say, a 20-year mortgage time, you should save approximately $20,000 in fuel costs.
Although this particular house is crammed with instruments for measuring and refining the efficiency of the systems, Bassford says the house and its energy-saving devices can be built with conventional materials for about $50,000. And he says he thinks results from the studies here will be extremely useful throughout the country. Simplified plans for the house should be available at nominal cost from the government printing office by fall. Charles Fishburne reporting.
That I've always called politics the king of sports. I was born in it, I lived in it all my life, and I've loved every minute of it. Now I find I've lost my enthusiasm for the campaign.
Well, the key phrase is enthusiasm, word, and for the campaign.
What is your life going to be like now?
Well, he's been in a campaign every 2 years since I've been married to him. So, in a sense, I've been like the congressional wife in that we have had a campaign every 2 years. But, and the presidential campaigns are very demanding. But I expect for the next 2.5 years while we're in the governor's office that I hope and I think that we'll have a little more normal life.
And after that 2 years, I understand that there's a possibility you might run for governor. Is that right?
I heard about that, too. I don't know. That's purely speculation, though.
Well, how do you speculate? Is that a possibility?
Well, people just ask me about it. They have ever since I've been married to George, I think mostly because Lurleen was governor, and I think they thought just because she was governor that he would probably run me for governor. But I think there's more talk about him running for the Senate. And like I said, I really, having teenage children, I have to give them first consideration, my husband and my children.
So you see your political life as what, being possibly the wife of a senator?
I don't know. I wish I knew the answer to that, but I really don't know the answer to that at this time.
Well, people have been thinking maybe George would run me for governor. Does George run you at all?
Well, no, but I do consult him about most everything I do. I don't, I think most of us finally make the decisions that we want to make. And if I decided to do a thing, but out of consideration, when you live in a marriage and a partnership, I think that each partner is obligated in a sense to confer with the other partner, or at least inform them about the things they plan to do. So I suppose, you know, it's a mutual thing that you have to take stock of the whole family.
Be certain that the momentum
cities, from its streets, from its ghettos, and from its wealthy, affluent neighborhoods.
Today we answer that question. We'll say those the stars. America, America, God shed His grace on thee.
If I can trip somebody with a word of song, if I can show somebody his traveling wrong.
Candace, you got the snack. He didn't believe it. Oh, we're going to make it. Smile, man. Anytime you're ready.
That means the first dog that gets across can win a prize, but the first one to actually get over the tree and bark with bark of its tree.
with the other Indians. Richard, shoot the Indians.
Come on, come on.
Come on, don't drop it.
Don't drop it down.
Can I cut it? Come on.
All right, let's dig it out there. All hands in front of you. Come on, Rod. Come on, Doc. Come on, Doc. All hands in front of you. All hands on the watermelon. Stop it. Stop it. Council, let's get it out of there. Gotta hang on to that watermelon. There goes one.
This 99-year-old church holds special significance for a lot of people in Montgomery and the world. It is a church where Martin Luther King was pastor while he led the modern civil rights movement. Does this day have any special significance to you, being Sunday and the 4th of July?
Yes, I think the Christian movement of I should say American, what we was founded on, Christian foundation. This is why we left England, and I think this is an exceptional day, the forthcoming. We said bicentennial, 200 years of freedom, and also we're going to church to worship God, what made it all possible.
Isn't this Dexter Avenue Baptist Church a special place in American history?
Definitely so, because the movement of the black race, the black people. I think we got started here when I was in college, and I think it has spread it. And through Dr. King's effort and what he stood for, and he got his teaching from Ghana, that's his belief, that and from God, I think the country as a whole is much better off. The black and white can stay together, and we'll always be together.
Thank you. Does this 4th of July being on a Sunday hold any kind of special significance to you, being a member of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church?
I should think so.
Why?
Because it has a historical background, and for the simple reason that the late Dr. Martin Luther King once pastored this church, and it has so many significant factors to me. Of course, I wouldn't dare try to enumerate them. I'm just a member.
Do you remember Dr. King when he was here?
Very much so.
What is the most vivid thing you remember about him when he was here?
Well, when he was here, he was very kind, gentle, and he always had a smile, a winning personality. And I often heard him say, he said, the no-Ds as well as the PhDs are together.
It has a forward velocity of approximately 28 miles per hour, and he can vary his rate of descent to falling out of the sky like crazy to 0. He's lined up on his final approach, getting ready, starting a little flare action, and there we have William Smith. Nice one. Getting pretty close, and Jay Dorn. Last man down, Roger Juju's doing a little backflip forward. They are sure. That's Roger Juju's.
So despite the inclement weather, the last day of the bicentennial celebration in the Montgomery area has been an apparent success. George Mitchell, WSFA TV News, Maxwell Air Force Base.
The major problem in District 4, that most of District 4 is not owned by the people who live in it, is owned by persons who live away. Much of the property is owned by people who are deceased, and nobody has cared enough to come and see about it. Much of District 4 is near railroads, and much of District 4 also is near factories, and it has become a dumping ground for trash since this new ordinance has been put on by the city.
Now, what do you want to accomplish through your campaign?
Through this cleanup campaign beginning on the 6th and lasting through July 28th, we want to improve District 4. I do not believe that we can completely clean it up, but we want to improve it. And I'm planning on giving the areas that makes the greatest improvement a prize to stimulate other groups to work harder so we can get District 4 somewhat in line with the other districts.
Have you had any indication as to how much volunteer help you're going to get in this program?
We're going to be able to use the Boys Club, and what we've actually done, we've taken streets and asked leaders to go to each house and ask the people who have not been cleaning up, who just sought to just leave it as it is, to clean up, make each street responsible for their streets so that they can clean them up. That is the best way we feel that we can get it. And we are also not asking just their homes to be cleaned up. We're asking the people who operate business. The business in District 4 is one of the eyesores. They seem to throw their trash anywhere. The play areas, the vacant lots, the homes where old people live, you know they're not able to clean it up. We're asking people in District 4 to go in and help them clean up this particular area.